Yeah. It was so fun. We went with our friends from Trustee and we went last. Okay. We went with our friends from, we went to the little gym. Yeah. We made a little small little gym. Yeah. They're all boys. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. One of the kids was a little scared. It was a little like, yeah. A little, they're all like, big. Yeah. Have like a little, have a little,
oh, okay.
a little thing to like move the sand, like dig out pieces.
Yeah. Okay. Why don't I at least have somebody just on the agenda, right, who made the motion, who seconded it? So, can you email a copy of this? Frank, do you have a copy of the tonight's agenda?
Yes.
I have a map.
Tonight, could you just mind just writing who made a motion and who seconded it?
It was somebody else taking.
Next meeting, she's gonna do some minutes, basically recording. You know how sometimes you can't quite hear it?
He was like,
Would you, or I can have, if you like to take notes on your agenda, I could also have, make a copy.
But I did not know that I have a.
No,
It is not easy to like figure out what to do.
All right. She's gonna probably say, why did you do that? Can you smile?
But yeah, sure. But if I don't, like, can't touch it, then it goes, yeah, the first time out, yeah. And then like, of course, he's a baby, right? He's like down on the couch, just like, muscle his hair, it doesn't just ever stay, right? We're like, oh, like, it's fine.
They're trying to do an effort to establish
So crazy. And so like the records can't take care of it. Have to shut. I mean, maybe like being that person, but you think like the having to rush when it's not even like be a consequence of us, like
I mean,
no.
it's really the city, it's weird, it's just inconsistent.
It's
Because
inconsistent.
it says that we do have the authority there, but it says we don't here.
Well, then I guess what it doesn't say that we don't, it says that we, I think it says that we are like.
We're not charged.
We will, yes, yeah. Let's be sure it's right, but
It's an ambiguity.
we could, when we could end up with a potential situation that we were closed or something and had no, it was stuff like resources and we decided that we were gonna charge relevant. I don't think things that would ever happen. But leaving it as
We could, because
it's even the generally open and general, because we're gonna talk about this.
no, I mean, I
Why she,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not,
he did not,
it's just,
second guessing.
it's just
I know, it is inconsistent to me too. It is an ambiguity, but she kind of sounds so like.
it's an ambiguity.
How much do I have?
Yeah. Right. Exactly. I think that's exactly, I think that's exactly. So are we, Jean's here? Hi. Hey Trevor, Catherine.
Hi.
Hi Don.
No.
Good, great. So we're not waiting on anybody else then?
No, Rick and Jen are both away.
Okay, perfect. So Don, you want to let me know? Let me know when you're up and going. I have to also get into the library.
I've got it preloaded, so I can start whenever you're ready.
Okay. Let me just.
She's like, that's what happened to her, she's sitting along there, sitting like, oh, God, I'm not like.
I'll just go and sort her out. The second picture.
I was in the recruiting classes, and then I saw you on this there. I'm picking up anywhere. I still see it because they didn't answer.
They were going to sue too. That's incredible. How they got sued.
Hi, I'm so scattered.
Oh,
I
that's
can take
fine.
away your story. No, you can be here, but I just be prepared that I've got.
That's so much stuff.
Okay, all right, so ready, Don?
Yep.
Welcome, everyone, on this very auspicious April 8th day. I hope your eyes are all good. It is 5:03 on April 8th, 2024. I would like to call to order a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Saratoga Springs Public Library. Our first item on our agenda is the approval of the March meeting minutes. Does anyone have any questions? Anything that they noticed? And if not, I will accept a motion for approval. Thank you, Heather.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, all in favor?
Hi.
Passes. Next is our expenditures. The March prepaid checks, 72061 to 72063, as well as 72065. Actually, are we going to approve that even though that program hasn't happened? Is that check not gone out?
It hasn't gone, but it's rescheduled. It's coming out.
Okay, so we'll, okay. And April warrants and checks 72066 to 72148. So sorry, I got sidetracked. The March prepaid checks total $13,570.72. The April warrants and checks total $157,447.04. Did anybody have any questions about anything on those?
I was curious about what Playaway Products was.
Playaways are, they're the self-contained recorded books.
Oh, okay.
Anybody else? Okay, would someone like to make a motion to approve the expenditures? Thank you, Carol. And then someone else take a second. I think Nancy beat you to it, just all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, that passes. Next is the approval of the financial reports, the March prepaids and April warrant summary sheet, the budget report, as well as the income report. On the budget report, we are 75% through our fiscal year. So I know we've been keeping track of this and we're now a little bit over on the periodicals and microfinance. Do we want to reallocate something for that? Or do you want to wait till next month? Right?
We probably should reallocate something so that it's not a negative number. But I think don't have plans to spend much more in periodicals. So we could take 1,000 from books, and put it, or 500 for books, and put it into magazines. Just say,
So you want to take 1,000 out of books? Is that what you want to do? All right, I'm gonna ask for that reallocation separate from these financial reports, okay? So would someone like to make a motion to reallocate $1,000 from the budget line of books and rental books and move that to periodicals and microforms? Thanks, Jean. Would someone like to second? Thanks, Heather. All in favor? Okay. And now, any other questions on the budget report, the income report, or the financial reports in general?
I just had one question.
Mm-hmm.
The very last item, 60500-1, on the SBI disability.
Mm-hmm.
what- Just looking for some more clarity on what exactly it is. I saw the 38.1%.
Yeah. It's just something we're paying.
right, it's a disability insurance that we only pay if there's a claim, really, so it's not, it's rarely, if ever, used, which is why we don't budget a huge amount for it, and, but we did have,
And I think it's something we're required to have in our budget, right? I mean, it's, yeah,
Thank you.
yes. Works. Right, would someone then like to make a motion to approve the financial reports? Sorry, thanks, Heather. And a second? That's Jean. Pete is signing up. All in favor? My report, the big thing on my report is that we've been continuing to have conversations with the city about the parking lot. And we will be on the agenda for next week's city council meeting, which is Tuesday, April 16th at 6 p.m. Is taking the lion's share of putting together a short presentation. Our attorney, Stephanie Ferradino, will be there. I think that Stephanie's probably going to share more of the presentation about the history of the agreement that we currently have and changes that we're hoping to make. And by that point, the commissioners will have amendments with the agreement. So it would be nice to have people there who can come. And if you know, she said it would be nice for us to invite a few people other than the board to be there potentially and support. We didn't really have a number, right? Six. Yeah. And you can also watch it, but it would be nice.
And so who are you looking for to attend, patrons?
Just a few, or friends of the library, you know,
just people who would be supportive of that change.
of changes we're trying to make. And that's pretty much all I've been doing, I think. And I can just see if there was one other thing. Yeah, that was it for me. It looks as though we have no public comment. Has there been any correspondence or communication? Your report, please?
I don't know if there were any questions about the written report. It's sort of the curse of Saratoga Reads. We've had any number of main events snowed out, and so, the one year that we didn't have, wasn't snowed out, our speaker came from Minneapolis, and she said, "How should I get there?" And I was like, "Get a direct flight," but she changed to Detroit, and I'm like, "You're flying from Minneapolis to Albany via Detroit in the middle of winter when we're snowed out." But it was a beautiful day, and she made it. So, but that has been rescheduled for April 20th.
Yes, Saturday, April 20th, 2 p.m.
Yeah.
Gannett Auditorium. It's gonna be a party.
Then the other big news that might come as a surprise to people, it sort of came as a surprise to us, is Schenectady County's withdrawal from the joint operation agreement. What all of the implications of that will be, we don't know yet. We do know that they are a net borrower of materials from the other libraries in the consortium, so it may be negligible, the impact. Where it's really gonna be most difficult, I think, for us is going to be at the service points, when suddenly there's a different set of rules for people from Schenectady that there never were before. And what those would be, we don't exactly know, but since they're outside of the South service area, they won't be part of this agreement we have with South and MPLS. And typically, people who are in that circumstance, like people who live in Albany, for example, are limited to borrowing 3 items at a time. So
Oh, I see.
so that would be a fairly large change from Schenectady.
What kind of library, is it a county library?
It is a county, yes, it's a municipal library that serves the county of Schenectady.
How does the cost per library get decided now or before they left?
So there is a formula based on items in the collection that are in the database, and then patron transactions.
Do you all know what each of you are paying?
Yes.
All the libraries know what everybody else is paying, so their share would have to be divided up, is that what?
Potentially, but it's hard to say. It's hard to say what the future of the agreement will be.
Okay.
Because most of the fees go to pay for personnel, and so they may have to make some difficult personnel decisions for the joint operation project.
I had looked at some of this earlier, but I was also wondering, does that mean that Mohawk Valley and South, do they wind up paying Schenectady County Library for not being a part of the, okay.
Another potential difficulty with this is that each library system has a central library that gets some money from the state to purchase materials for use by the whole system. Schenectady is the largest library, and it's the central library for Mohawk Valley, and they say they intend to remain doing that, but how they'll do that while maintaining a separate integrated library system, it's hard to say.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think I read that they said that their resources would not be available in the shared automated database.
That's correct.
So that means all of their resources will no longer be available to anybody else.
That's correct.
Do you know, do they have like any specialized collections, or is there anything about that collection that's, I mean, obviously if they're a net borrower.
Right. I mean, it seems like, Trevor might have a better picture of what comes across the desk for us from them. It seems to be, it's mainly popular material.
Yeah, we used to see from Schenectady, we used to see a lot more music and DVDs, especially foreign films coming from Schenectady. That has decreased along media in general over time. So right now, we don't.
You don't feel like there'll be a big loss of some sort of knowledge?
Off the top of my head, no. Somebody somewhere, I'm sure, knows that there's someone that's a collection development specialist in, say, like mystery fiction or something, and they always get the, mid-list, mysteries, or something like that might come into the search, but nothing that we're gonna say, oh my gosh, we're losing X.
Okay.
You included in there the concerns that the county had brought up and the responses from the joint automation. Was that with the hope that potentially other people would follow suit, or that it wasn't really accurate? I mean, there were so many details
Right,
of things that were being responded to that, and then underneath it, it looked like was leaving this very real concern about privacy and confidentiality, which will be their issue to manage. But so my assumption is that is the whole reason that the joint automation exists or was created to begin with, was to be able to protect privacy and confidentiality with the borrowing options.
Not necessarily, no, it was created to allow the libraries in the two systems to share resources.
Okay.
So that's its purpose. And both the boards of cells and MPLS agree very strongly that really civilian people shouldn't have access to the patron database. And that's sort of the arrangement that Schenectady wanted to make, was to allow county employees. So the library employees are not county employees. They're, they operate independently from the county, even though they're chartered to serve the county of Schenectady. And so they wanted to let Schenectady County employees have access to the patron database, to be their IT people essentially, which is a role that the joint automation people play for Schenectady County.
So they wanted the county to employ the people who work for the county to be able to access the library's database?
They did.
Do the patrons know that, do you think?
I think, like a lot of these words that are in all those documents that I think are trying to get to that, but I'm not sure that the patrons would understand the nuances so much, that they're really separate entities. The county of Schenectady and the Schenectady County Public Library are not one and the same, with the same set of employees.
And so unlike us, they don't have in-house IT people at all.
Right, they didn't employ anybody, but like we have Don and Brendan.
Right.
And Crandall has somebody similar, Clifton Park. So the big libraries in cells all employed IT people too. And for the rest of the libraries in cells, the JA staff really are the IT people for, these little tiny libraries in the Adirondack.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting.
And they they didn't employ any IT people independently of the JA.
Right,
So in
right,
a
which
way,
it must have been tricky given how many libraries and things they have.
And so in essence, and this is a conversation that comes up with periodically, in essence, other libraries have been subsidizing the IT staff for the Schenectady County.
Right. Interesting. Okay, does anybody have any questions for Ike? Anything else on this report? Thanks. Scroll, sorry, down through all of those pages. Jen isn't here, but hopefully you all saw that the Seed Library. So I want to know, what is the Seed Library in? Or what's holding the Seed Library?
It's a binder.
Finds it looks like trading card collection.
I wish. I show my audit.
Okay. Nice. Don, down there, is your IT hat fitting now? You
It's.
said you told us you were on vacation and eating too much, so you couldn't sit on your iPad.
Doesn't quite fit yet.
Okay.
Monday, so, I just, put together some stats while I was waking up with coffee, one of the days off, so, if you have any questions about them, these are the stats generally that we put together for the state, for the most part. I don't generally put these on our monthly meeting reports, because as you can see that people, and half of them don't mean anything to half people, so, if you have any questions about them, feel free to, the remote printing is maintaining, and ever so slightly increasing over the month to month. We rolled it back out again, probably 3-4 months ago after the solution we had broke down, and we found a new one. And there's 59 jobs, probably approximately the same amount of people that came through and wanted to use the remote printing. That's the one where they don't need to sit at the computer, they can bring in their
Yeah.
device or send it over themselves.
Yeah, that's great. Good. Thank you for thinking of us, even though this is work. And Trevor?
Any questions about the written report? Otherwise, my apologies for not having outreach information for the month, but we will give you a double dose of outreach statistics next month. I just also want to highlight that Mary and Rockwell has had a heck of a month in March. Just a wonderful, she was wearing all the hats between being one of the organizers of the Immigrant Resource Fair and putting on just about single-handedly another Learn English Through Cooking class. And she has added yet another, I think now she's teaching, she just added another class that she's teaching herself. She's working closely with Miguelina Sanchez of LifeWorks, and Miguelina is pushing people to Marianne, and Marianne is just with a smile taking students in and on the fly assessing and creating classes, and I think it's wonderful. I'm also a little worried. I'm thinking Marianne, needs some help, but boy, she's busy and loving it. So she's firing on all cylinders as well. So I just really wanted to highlight her activities.
Nice, yeah. And it sounded in your report as though you were pleased with the way the resource fair went.
Yeah, across the board, it seemed that folks wished that there were more attendees, but offsetting that, the presenters all said this is the first time we've all been in the same room together, and that we got to get up and walk around and meet one another and see where our services overlap, or say, oh my gosh, I've got people, can I refer people to you? And there was a lot of that going on, so I think it was as beneficial.
Yeah.
So that's the great thing that comes out of something like that.
Yeah, that's cool. And is it something that you think people are going to want to repeat?
Yes, absolutely. We also think that by repeating it, the message is it's just going to grow. And all these different organizations are going to be able to share the information with their folks, and it's going to just kind of go from there, so.
Right. Any questions for Trevor, anybody? Catherine, youth services, brought a show and tell.
Oh, we love show and tell.
I know. Or I love show and tell, I should
I'm glad I can follow you.
This is what we're calling a Tony kit, and in your Tony kit, which is so cute, is a Tony box. If you don't have young children, you may have never seen one of these before. But we now have 3 of these kits to lend here at the library. So the Tony box is an audiobook player, and you have these little guys called Tonys.
Thomas and Friends, the adventure begins.
So I feel like sometimes I write these things and people don't know how fun they are, but you could just do that.
Oh, so each one is a different story?
Each one is a different story, so each kid has somewhere like 4 to 6 hours of listening time built in.
We've been waiting just for you.
So, and each kid has different characters, because we would never repeat.
Hi, you monster.
That's a long story.
Yeah.
Wait, I'll play with you. What's
So
your
I
name?
thought you guys would like to see what we do, because I tell you how fun we are, but.
Well, but I'm also, Jamie, don't you think the adults would love it?
That's pretty cool.
And then,
The songs.
so to fast forward, he tells it. And this is the part I'm bad at, you smack it. To make it go the next song, you smack it.
Oh, I thought it was like one of those games like Bop It, that you have to turn it and smack it and.
Yep.
So anyway, these are our new kids in the
Wow,
children's
and then how do
room.
they just plug in to recharge?
Yep, every kit comes with a
This is
charger.
amazing.
How much are
And-
they?
This part is somewhere between $80 and $100, and then each one of these is like 15.
And does it come with a case?
We purchased those to go with, you know.
And then so you could then buy more stories and
Yeah,
change out the stories.
Yeah, and they come out with new ones all the time. I think they're always trying to be collectible. So some libraries loan just these guys. We're gonna loan it as a kit. If we find that there's a demand for just these guys, we're gonna think about it. That's from the line inside.
That's like a prize, you can do all your chores.
Yeah, that's
They're great for car rides. It's super fun, but I thought you guys might.
I love that. I was picturing that it was just like a little, I didn't get that at all. I was picturing like a little character
No,
or
they're-
something.
yeah,
That is very
more
fancy.
so.
You haven't started yet, they haven't.
One of them went out already, but, I saved this one to show you guys. I'm gonna put it out before.
That's great.
But Gina has a social media post scheduled, so I'm sure people, but it was,
This cute little bag is so cute.
yeah. It has a little hole for the speaker. I know,
Oh, man.
I'm telling you, so,
Thank you.
we're trying to have a good.
Yeah, you are. That's
Is there an
great.
age range for the stories? I mean, do you have a bag for, you know what I mean?
They mostly only come in the relatively young picture book, so you see a lot of the popular characters. There's tons of like Paw Patrol, so, you know, you're kind of first grade and under really, but.
I'm telling you, the adults. We just, can you imagine, what would the characters look like?
I know.
And next month, I'll tell you guys about April break week, because we only had one day of break in March, but, as you might imagine, we were busy. I know you're shocked. We're having a good.
Good. That's really nice. I saw that you had National Oreo Day, and I never even could have imagined there were 11 flavors of Oreo.
There are so many more than 11.
Really?
They went to Walmart and they bought one of almost everything, and there's so many other ones, so next year they'll have to try it.
And I don't even know, you told us about Dogman, but I don't even know who Dogman is, so I guess I have to make a trip downstairs to see.
There, oh my gosh, there's at least 10 in the series, so. He's a police officer. Very civic minded.
I did like Dogman Bingo.
Yes.
All right, any questions for Catherine from anybody? I'm sorry, Jamie, following up with. But we'll pay attention anyway.
We had an awesome month for programming in March. You could totally see all the different, options we try to give people. We had a Holocaust speaker, we had a job fair, we had Ukrainian Easter egg decorating to a live little screech owl. He was very popular. His name was Hootie.
Yeah, he's very.
So, yeah, we had a great month of programming. Before you guys ask any questions, I just wanted to say, coming up this Wednesday, we have Dr. Lagawar, who's going to co-moderate our Saratoga Reads capstone event with Carol. She's going to be here doing a presentation. It's called A Doctor's Use of HeLa Cells. And so that's Wednesday, 6 o'clock.
So she's gonna talk about her experience in actually using HeLa cells in research. And yeah, the other thing I'll talk about next month is I have a full-time librarian and a part-time librarian who are working together to create an addiction and recovery free resource library for people to take, like never have to bring back, and they've been getting grants and donations and just all kinds of stuff. It's a real passion project of theirs, and it's taken off in a way that I could never have imagined, so I'm super proud of them. Can't wait to tell you guys about that next month.
Yeah, nice.
Any questions for me?
And so how did the response end up being with the memory project?
Oh, it was great. Yeah, we had one person that came up to the desk and they were like, oh, I was just looking at this. Do you have any like information about how I could do some research? Because I know that one of my family members was in the Holocaust and they never talked about it. And so it just opened up a lot of pathways for a lot of cool conversations and, you know, pulling together all the different things that we do, research and genealogy and
Yeah,
lots of people. It was a very passive program, so I don't have actual numbers on how many
Yeah,
people looked at
right.
it, but there was always somebody looking at it. So I'm so glad that we had it here, and so glad we had it when we did, because it was also, it coincided with the high school and the middle school doing some Holocaust curriculum during that time, so it was just great.
yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that would be actually beautiful.
Yeah, this is a yearly program. She comes back every year and it's full every year. Everybody loves it.
Yeah, I know, make this. Okay, any questions for Jamie from anybody? Kelly, before we go to your report, do you want us to do this appointment?
Sure.
Or do you have anything else?
I know, just the appointment.
That's the appointment, okay. So I would like to make a motion that we approve the appointment of Rebecca Robinson to Librarian 1 in Adult Services effective May 2nd, 2024. Someone like to second that?
A second.
Thanks, Heather. All in favor?
Thank you.
And Rick isn't here. I'm sure he's been really happy with the snow. Anything in there that you need to draw our attention to, like?
Just with the snow, especially the big storm a couple of weeks ago, it really did beat the heck out of the cloud. So we're just gonna need some pretty serious repair, if not replacement before long.
From how heavy it all was
Yes,
to move
yeah.
around, yeah.
How about that earthquake?
Yeah.
I know, wasn't that crazy?
Is it a Fisher plow?
You know what, I don't know. I do know that we purchased it probably about 12 years ago with the truck, so it's got some age on it as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, we felt that earthquake.
Yeah, we sure did. No ostensible damage.
No, we walked around, people were like, what's the building just shaking?
I know. I like pop my head out my office and all of us, like the patrons were like.
Okay, we have no special or committee reports. In unfinished business is the memorandum of understanding with friends. I did send suggested edits that Frank reviewed, and we have not heard back from them. So we will wait to hear back. In new business, when we met for our budget workshop, we were talking about whether or not to allocate in the budget in a separate budget line or some way to think about capital funds and a way that the money could potentially sit in one place rather than each year us figuring out what left, what hasn't been finished, what's come in, what's not. So Eric did some research on that for us, and so he's gonna fill us in.
So the money can stay in the money market account. It doesn't have to go into any other account, but you can put it into an assigned fund, which is not a permanent fund, so you don't have to like designate any, you don't have to show where the money is coming from. You can essentially just assign it for future use. And the future use would be capital projects.
So we could open up an account for this capital fund.
It kind of just sits on
No,
the
it just
balance
sits.
sheet in an assigned fund, but it doesn't actually get its own like bank account or anything. Just the board would designate these funds to capital account.
Designate a portion of what we
So
have.
like the 800,000 in the budget line this year.
Yeah.
Could be assigned to a capital. It would go into an assigned fund for the future use of capital projects. And so, like we know with capital projects, that 800,000 might not get used this year, so it'll just sit there until next year.
But it's not a separate account.
It's not in a separate bank account, it's just, it's a way to monitor differently what went in and out of it, right? It's that then,
You see it on the financial statements, it have a separate line, you have the general fund, the restricted fund for that, what's it?
Go for the Holocaust.
Yes, yeah, and then you have, an assigned fund. So yeah, the average over, including the 800,000, the average over the last 5 years was just under 300,000. So obviously this year would be 800, and then going forward, you could just assign 300,000 a year, and then, you know, might not use it all in that year, but it would, on average, it would cover the capital project.
And so then it comes out of the operating budget. So it's no longer part of the operating budget. It's
Yeah, the budget would stay the same as is, that 800,000 would just get assigned to capital projects. So if it's not used that year, it just goes over to the next year.
And that
So it
seems-
doesn't show up in our bottom line? How does that show up on our?
It would show up in our,
Outside the
it wouldn't be part of our annual budget, but it would be it would show up on our financial statements.
We have any other money like that?
We do have a very, very small restricted fund for the purchase of Holocaust books, which we haven't been able to spend any because it's supposed to be generating interest and it's not generating enough interest to spend. And we have a trust fund from the Art Hallberg Trust. It was a gift from a library user who left the IT, Eric. He left us his estate to buy artworks and for art.
That's
So-
appropriate.
Right, and that's separate from the general.
Just
operating.
designated, it's got a different name, designated.
and I guess the advantage of it is that right now, part of the issue has been, if it's in our operating budget, but the project hasn't come to fruition, or we're still waiting, there's always this question about holding it over, right? So this would resolve that, because it's assigned.
It wouldn't need to be 800,000 this year. If every year it was 300,000.
I
They
see.
slowly build that up, and then when the big project comes up like the elevator, the funds are already assigned to address that.
Yeah, right,
That's the question.
yeah.
So when Mike mentioned the trust and the books fund, do those draw interest separately from?
So they're not in our money market account,
They're
right?
not
They're in
our
something
money
else?
No, so the trust is administered by Saratoga National, so they're the trustees of the Art Hallberg Trust, and so that does generate some interest. And we can apply to use those funds each year. That's what we need. We need to apply to the trustees in order to use the funds each year. The Scheinbaum Fund, I think is what it is a separate bank account that we have, a special funds account at Adirondack Trust, but it's got about $3,000 in it, and it's had that $3,000 forever.
But that will gain interest as well.
Well, that's what he's saying, it's
Yeah, I mean,
not in
it's
an
not-
account
it's not
that's really,
generating any interest. We have looked into seeing if we could remove those restrictions and right now we can't really do anything with it because it is restricted and it's not generating any income for us to be able to use it. But it's a very tricky process apparently to undo those restrictions of a memorial gift that predate every year. So I think the last time we explored it, we would have to identify who if there are any remaining members of the family that we could reach out to just to ask if it would be okay. If we
Who administer, is that an Adirondack Trust
Exactly,
managed
yeah,
one?
it is, yeah. And those things, although they're administered differently from our general operating, the money market, they all do show up on our financial statement as assets.
So then, if we, I mean, so, we have a project and therefore we can estimate a cost and we put that into our budget, then how do you start to estimate your need for a request every year? An annual request of $300,000, like,
Yeah,
I can see when it's driven by a project, but when it's driven by us like saving money over here.
Well, I think that would be that it wouldn't go into a completely separate bank account, so it would just be assigning, and we don't have to do 300,000. We could do 50, we already have a capital expense line
in the
operating budget. It would just be saying, this is where it's gonna go, so that we're not in those limitations around, oh, we have to wait for the approvals through the city or the state or whatever it is. And then we end up with these weird things that we're managing for several years of the grant money comes in, but wait, what did that pay for? It's all oddly complicated. So Eric said to me that he doesn't think we need to, but it's just something we can decide to do. It's not.
Restricted funds are very more complicated, but an assigned fund is very easy.
Right. So do you want to think about it? Do you want to do that? Do you have questions?
I like the idea.
I didn't get would it make it, it seems like it would make it a little tidier for us to see over time.
Yeah, I agree. And I think those sorts of funds might also be a place to put unexpended funds at the end of the year, right? You could assign them to.
Yeah.
Right, we could do that. We could also do that when we're figuring out what we're going to do for the following year. You could choose whether that's a percentage of that goes into capital fund.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I understand how the accounting works. So it's separate from the operating.
So on the statements, you have like your general fund, and then you'd have a separate line item that would show an assigned fund. And that would just show, like if this year 800,000 was assigned, but only 500,000 this year, so that you'd have 300,000 assigned fund.
So we move it out. So like if a project happened, we paid
It's just on the balance sheet.
It's just on the balance
It's
sheet.
not actually
It's not getting
moved. It's not
moved, but
moving
it's moving on a spreadsheet that it went out of there and into something else.
So if there's 5,300,000 at the end of the year in the general fund, 300,000 of that is assigned to future capital projects.
Right. Okay. So I guess I'm going to make a motion. Don't you think that we have something, or you said we don't really need to make, it's not like a policy, but.
So is it, when we receive it now, does it generate income?
Well, it's still sitting in the money market account. It's not leaving the bank account, so it's always earning income. It's just like a separate line.
Accounting line.
A separate accounting line, that's a good word for it. It's not gonna be in its own bank account.
But it doesn't earn a different percentage from.
No, but what we're earning in that one is good. Yeah.
It represents an intended use established by the government's highest level of decision-making authority or their designated body or official. Which the board would.
Okay. So, I would like to make a motion that we create an assigned fund for capital projects. Would someone like to second that?
I'm saying,
Thank you, Jean. All in favor? Okay. And we, already did the appointment as the other aspect of other thing on your business. Anybody have anything else before I adjourn our meeting?
Who said that?
Jean? No? Okay, so I would like to make a motion to move into an executive session to discuss a legal matter. Could someone second that motion? Thanks, Carol. All in favor? All right, it is.
There's stuff here.